Hey, welcome to Maximum Performance. I'm your host, human performance expert, Brad Vaillancourt. Today we're going to talk about adaptation. And as humans, we're made to adapt, right? We're made to get used to things. We're made to get used to the stress that we get. Well, thanks to Dr. Hans Selye, who was an endocrinologist in the 1970s, he came up with how can the human body get stronger but also get weaker because of stress, right? Like, we need to figure this out. So he did. And here's what he did. He was able to figure out that there are two types of stress. There's distress, which we all know is the downward spiral, right? Makes us weaker. But if we do things like work out, or if we learn a new skill, whether it be a mental skill, physical skill, doesn't matter, then at first it's really tough and sometimes painful, but we adapt, we get better, we get stronger, and it gets less painful to being just a breeze after a while, right? And when it comes to adaptation, as humans, that's what we've got to do. We've got to do that all the time, right? I'm not saying we have to do it every minute of the day, but we need to continuously be adapting, learning new things. Otherwise, we just sit there, grow old, and die. We don't want that, especially if you're a high performer, right? If you're a high performer, you want to be able to adapt to as many different situations as possible. It's funny, I hear this in sports a lot when it comes to athletes. Oh, if so-and-so athlete played in today's game, oh, they would get slaughtered. There's no way that they would put up those kind of points. You know, like I would hear that about Larry Bird, the basketball player. I'm thinking Larry Bird would have a field day with this kind of stuff. I mean, there's no contact anymore. This is great.
8 seconds. Bird slap pass to Archibald.
Beneath him and probably with a little off balance.
Bird with the steal behind the back to Nate Archibald. Back to Bird.
All right, fantastic.
That's the highlight film, John. You can count it down with me. Bird inbounds. It comes to Maxwell. Max puts it on the floor. We're down to 6. Bird in the corner. Double fake. Jumper. It's good! Larry Bird hits it with 2 seconds left. Has 14. Bird, little fake down the lane. Oh, Larry Bird!
If you're a high performer, you want to be able to adapt to as many different situations as possible. Whether we're talking about sports or we're talking about learning a new skill, talking about business, we always want to be adapting or trying to learn new things. Now, the adaptation can go one of two ways, just like what Dr. Hans Selye told us, right? It can either cause us more stress by adapting to the stress with coping mechanisms, right? You get stressed, first thing you do, grab a cigarette, or maybe grab some alcohol, go and shut down, sit down in a corner, maybe watch some Netflix for a few hours, and shut down. All those things are just coping mechanisms. They're not going to be good for us. We're not going to be able to handle the kind of stress that we need, and we're not going to be able to adapt and handle more stress if we don't try to adapt and learn. So by learning, that allows us to not only take care of the physical stress involved, but it also helps us in a way of helping our brain function at a higher efficiency rate, right? How's that sound? What? More work and less effort? I love it. Now here's a story about coping mechanisms and how that just tears you to shits. There was this older couple and they loved to travel. They would travel the world every winter. It was the thing that they did for over 10 years. It was amazing. What an amazing life to have. Then their son committed suicide. He was in his 30s, and that just devastated them. I mean, tear their heart out. He wasn't their only child, didn't matter. He lived with them, and when they found him, no note, just found him, I mean, there was no recovery for them. In their minds, there was no way that they could recover fast enough or even think about recovering. All they could think about was poor me and mourn. And so instead of taking a certain amount of time to mourn and to try to get over it and adapt to life without him, they stopped traveling, they stopped doing anything, they just stayed home. And right now, since he was gone, it was just the two of them. And all they did was sit at home and watch TV for 30 years. 30 years! Now, if that's not a huge coping mechanism, and it just tears my heart apart that they decided to do that instead of trying to get past it, live their lives like they really needed to, so that they could just fulfill their own self, right? So that they could fulfill their own needs. But that just wasn't in the cards for them, and gosh, it was just so hard to see, so hard to see. Finally, after over 30 years, they decide to do something for themselves, for the rest of the family. They woke up and said, hey, you know what, we've got a life to live. We have only a certain amount of time on here. Let's do something. So they started traveling again, and then they didn't stop. They just kept traveling over and over again, going to different places, taking other family members, just enjoying life. And so as humans, we're made to adapt. You've got to be able to adapt. When you can adapt to different types of stresses, you're going to become stronger. You're going to become a faster thinker, a faster adapter. Right? When we adapt to stress faster, that means less time in the muck and more time on the pavement with our feet running as fast as we can. As high-performing people, that's exactly what you're looking for in a life, right? You want to keep going. Sure, life knocks you down, of course. You know, we all get there. I've been knocked down several times myself. It doesn't matter. It's how quickly you can get back up and start going again. Because the longer you stay in the muck, the less time you're going to have to sprint to get to where you really want to go, to learn new things, and to really get that fulfillment that you want out of life. As entrepreneur Bedros Keuilian puts it, he tries something new at least once a year for 6 weeks. Tells himself, I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to dedicate 6 weeks to learn it. The very first thing that he tried was to run a marathon. He said he never even ran half a mile before. Here he was going to do 26.2 miles in 6 weeks. Well, he got himself the best coach that could help him do it. And then from then on, he spent those 6 weeks trying his best. And when it came time to run the San Diego Marathon, he kicked ass. Right? And you can do that too. Being built similarly, I felt back in the day that there's no way I could do an Ironman triathlon. No way. I mean, my body's not built that way. My body is built for strength. It gets tired quickly. I can do several sets, but I cannot do continuous. It just tires me right out. Well, 2009, I proved myself right and wrong. I proved myself that I could do it, and that I can recover fast enough just by training in a right way that's going to be best for my body. And I loved it. I loved the training with my partners. Man, I was adapting faster and faster. It was awesome. I used my weight training to balance out all the aerobic work, and when it came time for the race, I felt amazing. And what a day. It got to over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's okay. I had such a fabulous time. I just kicked ass. It was awesome. And you can do the same, whether it's a physical thing that you wanted to learn or something mental. Maybe it's a new language. Maybe what you're trying to do is learn a new skill, right? Maybe it's a certain type of dance. Maybe it's something to do with business. Whatever you want to do, make sure that you're going to spend the time to learn it, and learn it in chunks so that you're not setting yourself up by having a humongous goal but a huge gap. Make sure you get these mini wins in there to stack. When you stack these mini wins, next you know, that big gap is now a lot smaller and much more attainable. You can do this. This is really awesome. This is going to be the year for you to dominate, and I'm going to help you get there each way with every episode. You know, one thing that really helps us to adapt is by having a routine. If we're going to learn something new, we're going to put that into our routine so that we have a lot of consistency going on. And that persistence will pay off. Oh, if you are a high achiever, you know all about persistence. And you're going to be able to get the right amount of rest. You're going to get the right amount of stimulation. And by having that toggle back and forth, the right rest and the right amount of stimulation, rest, stimulation, boy, you're going to grow, whatever it is. And you're going to find that what used to be super hard becomes much easier and maybe even super easy where it's just second nature for you. And how awesome is that, right? Think about something when you were younger that was super hard, right? Maybe it was a certain grade. Was there a certain grade? Like for me, it was chemistry grade 11. It was super tough. Oh. And yet, not only did I make it easier on myself by getting a tutor, I went to summer school so that I could improve that passing grade. And by doing that, chemistry became a hell of a lot easier when I wanted to do it again. And you know what? I ended up liking it. It went from being super tough, and I got so frustrated, I just didn't know what to do. And here I was trying to play hockey, play lacrosse, play football, and run. And while at the same time, I was still doing discus and javelin. I mean, I had to make sure that my persistence paid off, and it did. Yours is going to do the same. All you got to do is make sure that you have that routine, have it written out. As they say, if it's written, it's real. By doing that, you're going to have a lot more success in your life. And with that success, you're going to have more fulfillment in your life because you're doing things that you want to accomplish. And maybe you want to do it with people, right? Maybe you want to do it in a group. When I wanted to do the Ironman, I did not want to do it alone. I wanted to do it with people who had already done it. And so I picked a group of us. Some of them had done it. Some of us were beginners. And we learned. We learned from each other. And I had a phenomenal day. Even some of the people who had a better time, they felt awful. They had the most horrible time, but hey, that's okay. They finished it. We all finished it. And man, what an amazing experience, I tell you. Like super amazing to take a goal that you didn't know that you would even think about accomplishing or even think about trying just 4 years before that. And then bam, it's like, whoa, hello there. It just feels so good to come across this finish line. And then when I wanted to go to university and learn about firefighting, oh my gosh, all I did was go there and try. I didn't know anything about the hazmat issues, the chemistry involved with that, you know, the fire tetrahedron, stuff like that. But I took some wins in chunks, which is really key. Take those wins in chunks, setting the smaller goals to stack on top of each other. Some people will do these throughout the day. Other people will do them weekly. Make sure that, you know, I'm going to have certain wins stacked up because I know I can accomplish these little things even though they're new and they're tough to do, but they're going to be manageable. And that's what you want, something that's manageable for yourself. When you've got that, you're going to have so much more success. And when you have people around you, whether they are part of it or not, or they're just your cheering crowd, hey, that's awesome too. That is so awesome. Make sure that you've got the support and from yourself. Never kick yourself when you're down, right? If you have that habit to try and throw yourself down to see how high you can get off that bounce, it's never as high as just lifting yourself up. Right? Adapting to these stresses is going to help you with persistence. It's going to help you with consistency, and it's also going to help you get to those new levels in life, whether it be business, personal, relationships, right? Imagine relationships. You and a partner trying something new. How does that feel? Just picture yourself for a second. You and your partner trying something new, going through the trials together. Right? And it doesn't have to be even all the time. Someone might be better at the beginning, and that's okay. The other one's going to get there as long as you help each other. And you can do those things. You can get more fulfillment and certainly adapt in life. When you have much faster adaptation, right? When you get to understand things a little bit faster, that means far less time wasted trying to figure this shit out. And that's a lot more fun. Because then you can try and spend more time on bigger projects and figure that shit out. Now my question to you is, what is it that you've been doing that instead of adapting, you've been coping, right? You've been maybe reaching for a pizza, reaching for a cigarette, something that just isn't congruent with what you really want out of life. Can you think of something? Now, what are you going to do about it so that you can adapt in that eustress or EU stress, as Dr. Hans Selye talked about, that he discovered, right? To have yourself build up higher and higher, getting the brain to function faster by having these synapse bridges building up more and more, getting the nervous system to function faster and faster. What is it that you really want to learn in life? Is it about relationships? Is it a relationship with your partner, with your kids? Does it have to do with work? Maybe you want to get to that next level and you've been stuck because you've been in that same coping mechanism, which is a downward spiral, causing more and more distress. Maybe even causing more and more tension headaches as your shoulders keep going up, up, and up from all that stress. And next thing you know, you're like this and you're hunched over. What good is that? Right? Forget the coping mechanisms. Let's try and get some EU stress in there so that you can grow, right? That good stress. Focus on that good stress, that things that help you grow, things that help you be a better person, things that are going to help you be a better partner, and things that are going to help you in business. You don't have to overwhelm yourself by doing all this all at once. Just know that by doing these things, you're going to have a far better life, and that smile is going to be contagious. It really is. I know you're going to want to save this for any time that you're feeling down about yourself, or maybe down on anybody in your life. So save this so that you can rewatch it and help lift yourself up and lift them up too. We're here to help each other. And you've done a fabulous job. Let's see how much better we can get, because hey, we're all about achieving more and more. That's why you're called a high achiever, and you can do it. You can help others and you can help yourself.